and namaste. My name is Cassie, and I am a 200-hour certified yoga instructor based in Southern New York. And today I'm here at the beautiful Dragonfly Wellness in Ossining, New York. And I've got for you a short, beginner-friendly sequence that's all about relaxation and stress relief. So we are going to move the body, we're going to move through the spine, do a little work on the belly, a little in the hips, but it's going to be slow and just all about breathing and moving and just losing yourself for a little while so that you can then move on into the rest of your day without added stress. So we're going to begin in one of my favorite poses, child's pose. So for child's pose, you might start on hands and knees and then bring your hips back towards your heels. So it's really up to you how you'd like this to be. You could keep your knees together. You could bring the knees nice and wide, which is my personal favorite. The arms could be out in front of you, nice and long. Or maybe you bring the hands under your forehead. Now you can bring your head down to the mat, but I'm going to lift my head so you can still hear me. But you can really take a few breaths to just settle in here. And of course, if child's pose is uncomfortable, you could begin just in a seated position. That's totally fine. But notice how the body's feeling today. What is it like to really round through the back here? Is it comforting? Right? It's kind of like being in that fetal position. Or is the body feeling stiff? Maybe there's tension in the shoulders or the lower back. We're going to take about 3 slow, deep breaths just to get centered. Letting the breath begin to slow down. Finding your center. Last big breath in. And a long breath out, maybe through your mouth. And from here, if you had your hands in another position, come to bring the arms out in front of you nice and long. And your knees will bring them about parallel with the mat, right? So if they were wide, come to draw them in. I'm going to take a little bit of a flow here that I always find helps get me nice and centered. So to start, you'll breathe in, coming to stand on the knees. So lifting up, and the arms might come all the way up overhead. And then as you exhale, you'll bring your hands down to the mat, finding your tabletop. Hands and knees. Next breath in brings you to a cow back. So the belly drops, back arches here. Perhaps the chest lifts. Exhaling, rounding your spine, coming to a cat stretch as you bring your hips down towards the heels. So if you were a little lost there, don't worry, we're going to do this movement 2 more times. So you'll inhale, rising all the way up on the knees, arms overhead. Exhaling down to your table. Inhale to find your cow stretch. Exhale, rounding to your cat stretch. And then hips down to heels. We'll do one more, really connecting breath with movement. So inhale, rise up. Exhale down to hands and knees. Tabletop. Inhale, cow stretch. Exhale, round to your cat stretch. Hips to heels, child's pose. And we'll take just one complete breath here to kind of settle into that child's pose. So deep breath in. And a long breath out. And then we'll breathe in, coming all the way up to tabletop. All right, and from here, we're going to take that right hand, and you're going to bring that arm all the way up to about a T, give or take. And then breathing out, take that right arm and thread it underneath the left for what's called thread the needle. So if you can, see if you can come down onto the right shoulder and let that head come to rest. The right hand can stay on the mat, or maybe you walk the fingertips out, stretching long. And this is a nice stretch and an opener for the upper back and shoulders. Take one more breath in and a long exhale. So if you moved that right hand, come to bring it back to frame your face. As you inhale now, lifting all the way up, exhaling, coming back to your table. And then just rocking the hips a little side to side, or maybe even the whole torso side to side, as you kind of shake that off a little. All right, so for the demo, I'm just repeat the same side, but you'll come to bring your right arm out and up this time. As you then exhale to thread it underneath the left, finding that twist on this side. And maybe you notice right away that one shoulder is different than the other. It's all good. This is part of being human. As you maybe walk the left fingertips forward. And again, we'll take about 2 slow, deep breaths into the upper back and shoulders. All right, so from here, if you move that left hand, come to bring it back down. Inhaling, unwinding from your twists. Exhale to bring that right hand back to the mat. And then we'll walk the hands forward a little bit here, or a lot bit, playing with what's called puppy pose. So for puppy, you'll want to try to keep the hips over the knees, but you're stretching through the spine here. So go only as far as is comfortable. So I have a lot of flexibility in this shape, but if you're like here and this feels good, enjoy that. Well, maybe you can bring your forearms to the mat. Maybe your head reaches, the forehead reaches the ground. Again, only go as deep in as feels comfortable for you. If this pose just feels really terrible, find a child's pose. It's all good. As you take one more big breath in and a long exhale. And from here we'll meet on the belly, resting on the forearms. So if you have the space, you might just shift forward, or for the sake of the demo, I'm going to just lower down. All right, and adjusting yourself as you need to. So elbows about under the shoulders, palms resting down on the mat. Welcome to Sphinx pose, one of my personal favorite back bends, because with Cobra you're really pressing into the hands, but here the entire forearm supports your weight. So you can really just focus on reaching up, imagining the spine could lift all the way from the tailbone in a beautiful arc. You don't have to work here. This can be super passive as you just breathe. We'll take 2 more deep breaths. Last breath in. And then as you exhale, let's come all the way down. Perhaps pillowing the hands under the forehead, finding crocodile. Or if it's more comfortable, you can just turn a cheek to the mat. I'm going to kind of stay half crocodile here so I can still project my voice as we come for what's called lizard pose. So for lizard, you're going to bend the right knee, bringing your leg out to the right so that you can, in theory anyway, bring that knee in line with your hip. And I say in theory because, everybody's got their own range of motion. So find what's comfortable here. It's the whole inside of the right leg rests on the ground. And if you need, you can always slide a blanket under your knee. So we're going to just rest here for about 4 breaths. And again, you can let the head rest. You might find cactus shape with the arms and turn your head to rest perhaps on your left cheek. For the sake of teaching, I'm going to keep my head up. And then we'll just take a couple breaths here. Inhaling and exhaling. And if the stress of the day is starting to come back into your mind, know that that's okay, that's totally normal. That maybe you can direct your attention back to either your breath or the sensations in the hip and leg. Take one last inhale. But stay for that exhale. As you now bring that leg in. Sometimes it's a little tricky. Might want to roll a little bit to the left as you bring the right leg in. And again, I'm going to repeat the same side, but as you're ready, you're going to bring the left knee out and open to the left. Perhaps noticing right away differences between the two hips. Letting your head rest somewhere comfortably on the mat. As you just take some time to breathe here, nice and slow. Again, perhaps guiding the breath right into your hip. Or simply following each inhale and exhale. Take 3 more breaths. Last full inhale and a long exhale. And again, in whatever way you need to, we'll draw that left leg in. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Ant. Had an ant crawling on my hand here. As we now inhale, coming up to table, exhale back to your child's pose, which is where we're going to finish out. Perhaps it's a different expression of child's pose than where you started. And just notice how you feel. Maybe you feel a little calmer and quieter in the mind and body than when you started. And we'll take one more breath in together. And a nice exhale out through the mouth. And you can stay in child's pose as long as you'd like, or come to a more traditional resting pose on the back. But I'm going to come on up here. And this is where I leave you. So thank you so much for joining me for today's practice. I hope it was peaceful and a little bit more helpful. And if you're interested in joining me for private yoga, all online, you can either shoot me an email at yogawithcassie@usa.com, or somewhere above my head, there's going to be a phone number that you can call or text. Thank you.